Here's the truth. Our world is way crazier than any textbook says. Boiling rivers, continents splitting, deserts older than dinosaurs. Earth's geography is wild. Forget what you learned in school. These 50 facts will blow your mind. Fact 50. Madagascar is twice the size of Great Britain. On flat maps, Madagascar and Great Britain look like twins, but Madagascar is actually double Great Britain's area. Madagascar covers nearly 228,000 square miles of lemurs, rainforests, and ancient baobab trees, making it the fourth largest island globally. Island size comparisons prove map projections completely distort reality. What looks equal is actually vastly different. Fact 49. The closest point to space is in Ecuador. Mount Chimborazo holds the record for closest approach to space, not Everest. Chimborazo sits right on the equator where Earth bulges outward as an oblate spheroid. Its summit reaches 6,384 kilometers from Earth's center, making it literally the closest standing point to outer space. Equatorial geography gives Ecuador an astronomical advantage. Fact 48. Australia has no active volcanoes. Australia is the only continent on Earth without a single active volcano anywhere on it. Meanwhile, Antarctica, of all places, has several active volcanoes including Mount Erebus and Mount Sidley. The Pacific Ring of Fire passes just north and east of Australia, affecting neighbors like Indonesia and Papua New Guinea. Australia stays perfectly untouched by volcanic activity. Fact 47. The Dead Sea isn't actually a sea. The Dead Sea is so salty you float effortlessly without swimming, just lying back and drifting. But here's the twist. It's not a sea at all, but a hypersaline lake, nearly 10 times saltier than the ocean. It's also Earth's lowest point, sitting more than 400 meters below sea level. You're floating at the planet's deepest dry spot, but don't taste it. Fact 46. The Arctic desert is larger than you think. While the Sahara wins for largest hot desert, the Arctic desert is the second largest overall, covering frozen islands like Svalbard and Franz Josef Land. Together they form a frozen wasteland, larger than most countries. Proving deserts don't always mean heat. Arctic deserts receive virtually no precipitation, making them as arid as sandy dunes. Geography classes ignore frozen deserts completely. Fact 45. The Great Wall of China can't be seen from space. The Great Wall stretches over 21,000 kilometers but is only a few meters wide, blending perfectly into the natural landscape. It's invisible from space with the naked eye, despite common myths starting from a 1932 cartoon. Every astronaut who's actually been to space has confirmed you cannot see it. The myth spread more than the wall itself ever could. Fact 44. The Statue of Liberty is in New Jersey waters. Lady Liberty might be symbolically tied to New York City, but geographically sits in New Jersey waters on Liberty Island. The Supreme Court settled this in 1987, ruling the island remains under New York's jurisdiction despite sitting inside New Jersey's state lines. So Lady Liberty technically has two addresses legally. Geography and symbolism completely disagree here. Fact 43. Kansas City is in two states. Kansas City is a metropolitan area split between Kansas and Missouri on opposite sides of a river. Kansas City. Missouri is actually the larger and more famous one, home to the downtown skyline and major sports teams. Kansas City, Kansas sits just across the river in a completely different state. You can literally cross a street and change states. Fact 42. Continents move as fast as your fingernails grow. The continents constantly drift at roughly 2 to 5 centimeters annually, the same speed your fingernails grow. Plate tectonics causes massive crustal slabs to slide slowly over molten rock below. Each year's tiny shift compounds over millions of years, completely reshaping our planet. Your fingernail clippings move as fast as continents do. Fact 41. Alaska is the most eastern, western, and northern state in the USA. People assume Maine is the easternmost state, but Alaska's Amatignac Island lies farther east than anywhere in the US. Alaska crosses the 180th meridian, holding the westernmost point and obviously the northernmost. Alaska basically hoards all longitude records simultaneously. One state dominates 3 directional extremes at once. Fact 40. Iceland and Greenland's names are completely deceptive. Vikings named Iceland for icy fjords early settlers saw, then called Greenland to attract new settlers despite 80% ice coverage. It's history's earliest real estate marketing scam, making people move to frozen wastelands expecting green pastures. Greenland marketing worked so well people believed the lie for centuries. the swap-shaped settlement patterns forever. Fact 39. Sydney isn't the capital of Australia. Sydney Opera House dominates everyone's mental image of Australia, making people assume it's the capital. While Sydney is the biggest and most famous Australian city, Canberra actually serves as the capital. Back in 1913, after years of Sydney-Melbourne debate, Canberra was chosen as a compromise roughly halfway between them. Fame doesn't equal governmental importance. Fact 38. Lagos isn't Nigeria's capital anymore. Lagos used to be Nigeria's capital, but in 1991, the government moved to Abuja, a smaller, more central city. Lagos remains Africa's largest city with over 21 million people forming the country's beating heart. Capital status moved, but economic and cultural dominance stayed with Lagos. Size and power don't always follow political designation. Fact 37. Toronto isn't the capital of Canada. Canada's capital is Ottawa, not Toronto or Montreal, though Toronto dominates media coverage. Ottawa hosts Parliament, the Supreme Court, and the Prime Minister's residence, making it the actual power center. Ottawa is also one of Canada's most educated cities, proving brains sometimes beat fame. Political importance and city recognition are completely separate. Fact 36. South Africa has 3 capitals. Many assume Cape Town is South Africa's capital, but the country actually has 3 capitals dividing power. Pretoria serves as the administrative capital, Bloemfontein as the judicial capital, and Cape Town as the legislative capital. Instead of one main capital, South Africa spreads governmental power between 3 cities. It's a group project that actually works institutionally. Fact 35. Most of humanity lives in the Northern Hemisphere. About 90% of all people on Earth live in the Northern Hemisphere, clustered above the equator. While the planet looks evenly split on maps, humanity definitely picked its favorite half. Population distribution is wildly unbalanced geographically. One hemisphere holds nearly all of human civilization. Fact 34. Greenland isn't as big as you think. World maps using Mercator projection massively distort size near the poles, making Greenland appear huge. In reality, Africa is 14 times larger than Greenland, covering 11 million square miles versus Greenland's less than a million. Maps lie, but perspective and actual measurements tell the truth. Cartographic distortion shapes perception more than reality does. Fact 33. The tallest mountain isn't Everest. Everest stands 29,032 feet above sea level. But if we measure total height from base to summit, Mauna Kea in Hawaii wins at 33,500 feet. Mauna Kea starts deep below the Pacific Ocean, making it nearly a kilometer taller than Everest. The only reason it doesn't look taller is because most of it's underwater, making it the iceberg of mountains. Total height matters more than altitude when measuring true magnitude. Fact 32. Alaska isn't as big as Australia or Brazil. Alaska looks gigantic on Mercator projections, but Australia is actually 4 times larger, and Brazil nearly 5 times bigger. The map projection stretches land near poles, making Alaska appear supersized. If Earth were flattened correctly, Alaska would fit inside Brazil several times over. Arctic distortion creates false impressions of continental size. Fact 31. Some countries exist on 2 continents. Most people know Russia and Turkey span 2 continents, but forget about Egypt, Georgia, Azerbaijan, and Kazakhstan. Egypt is mostly in Africa, but the Sinai Peninsula sits squarely in Asia. The Caucasus watershed often serves as the dividing line between Europe and Asia, creating transcontinental nations. Continental boundaries don't respect national borders perfectly. Fact 30. The longest river in the U.S. isn't the Mississippi. The Missouri River beats the Mississippi by just 1 mile in total length, making it technically the longest. The Mississippi carries more water, but the Missouri stretches slightly farther before joining it. A 1 mile difference might sound small, but river bragging rights are everything geographically. Length and water volume are completely separate measures. Fact 29. The coldest desert on Earth has penguins. Antarctica is technically a desert defined by low rainfall and minimal vegetation, not heat. Antarctica received just 0.4 inches of rain over the past 30 years, making it incredibly arid. It's the largest desert in the world, covering 5 million square miles, dwarfing the Sahara. Deserts are about dryness, not temperature extremes. Fact 28. Most of Africa is actually in the Northern Hemisphere. School maps make Africa look like it sits mostly below the equator, but that's completely inaccurate. 2/3 of Africa's landmass lies north of the equator, including Egypt, Nigeria, Algeria, and Kenya. The equator slices across the middle, but most African populations live above that line. Cartographic presentation distorts continental perspective seriously. Fact 27. You can't actually dig to China. Childhood dreams of digging to China would end in the Indian Ocean if attempted from the US. China's antipode, its exact opposite point, sits mostly in South America, not under your backyard. If you dug straight down from America, you'd tunnel to Argentina instead. Antipodal geography proves digging anywhere leads somewhere unexpected. Fact 26. Toilets don't flush backwards in Australia. The myth claims toilets flush clockwise in one hemisphere and counterclockwise in the other due to the Coriolis effect. In reality, the Coriolis force affects hurricanes, not toilets. Direction depends on your plumbing design. Australian toilets don't spin differently than American ones, debunking this persistent myth. Physics applies to weather, not residential plumbing. Fact 25. Antarctica has time zones. 9 of them. Antarctica might seem like a frozen wasteland needing no time zones, but it technically spans every time zone on Earth. Research stations run by scientists from different countries each pick their homeland's time zone. You can literally walk from yesterday to tomorrow in minutes on Antarctic ice. International cooperation creates temporal paradoxes physically. Fact 24. Route 66 isn't the longest highway. Get your kicks on Route 66. Sounds romantic, but Interstate 90 stretches farther at 3,020 miles from Boston to Seattle. I-90 extends nearly 400 miles longer than Route 66, but lacks the same cultural mystique. Historic fame doesn't equal geographic length. Get your kicks on I-90 simply doesn't resonate culturally. Fact 23. Columbus didn't prove the Earth was round. Schoolbooks lie. People in Columbus's time already knew Earth was round from ancient Greek knowledge. Columbus tried proving he could reach Asia sailing west, not proving Earth's shape. Spoiler, he hit the Americas instead of Asia. Historical misrepresentation shaped how we teach Columbus completely. Fact 22. Australia has ski resorts. The sunburnt country famous for beaches and deserts also receives tons of snow in the snowy mountains in Tasmania. Some areas get up to 118 inches of snow annually, enough for real ski resorts and Olympic-winning skiers. Australia's geography includes mountains high enough for legitimate winter sports. Tropical reputation hides temperate alpine regions completely. Fact 21. Florida doesn't have the longest coastline. The Sunshine State, almost surrounded by water, seems like it should have America's longest coastline. Alaska actually holds that title with a staggering 6,640 miles of coast, nearly 5 times Florida's length. The frozen state beats the tropical state in beach real estate significantly. Warm weather doesn't equal geographic advantage. Fact 20. Hawaii is the southernmost U.S. state. Key West in Florida appears to be America's southern tip, but Hawaii sitting near the 21st latitude changed that. Hawaii sits 1,400 miles closer to the equator than Florida, making it geographically farther south. Tropical Paradise claims the southern record, not subtropical Florida. Fact 19. The least populated U.S. state isn't Alaska. Wyoming holds the record for lowest population with fewer than 600,000 residents, not frozen Alaska. Vermont actually has fewer people than Alaska, which has around 740,000 residents. Alaska has more moose than malls, but not the smallest population anymore. Population density defies geographic expectations completely. Fact 18. Kashmir isn't fully in one country. Ask who owns Kashmir and you'll get 3 different answers. India, Pakistan, and China. The region's borders have been disputed since 1947 when British India was partitioned. India controls Jammu and Kashmir plus Ladakh. Pakistan holds Azad Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan. China governs a small northeastern corner. Kashmir, India, is only partially correct geographically. Fact 17. Krakatoa isn't east of Java. The 1968 film Krakatoa, East of Java, told the story of a devastating volcanic eruption with a completely wrong title. Krakatoa is actually west of Java, not east. But filmmakers thought east of Java sounded cooler for movie posters. Hollywood cares more about marketing than map accuracy. Famous films casually misrepresent geography. Fact 16. Europe's tallest mountain isn't the Matterhorn. The jagged Matterhorn on every Swiss postcard isn't Europe's tallest or even in the top 10 peaks. Mount Elbrus in Russia stands as Europe's real tallest at 18,510 feet, towering over everything. Mont Blanc ranks highest in the Alps, while Switzerland's own Dufourspitze doesn't compare. Famous mountains rarely equal the tallest mountains. Fact 15. The longest suspension bridge isn't the Golden Gate. San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge might be iconic, but it hasn't been the longest suspension bridge for decades. Turkey's 1915 Santa Kale Bridge, completed in 22 stretches, 6,637 feet across the Dardanelles, now holds the record. Before Turkey, Japan's Akashi Kaikyo Bridge held the title, showing Asia dominates bridge engineering. Fame outlasts records consistently. Fact 14. Australia is wider than the moon. Australia stretches about 4,000 kilometers across from east to west, making it wider than the moon itself. Lined up side by side, Australia would stick out past both lunar edges despite the moon's massive size. Continental breadth exceeds natural satellite measurements impressively. Planetary perspective makes surprising comparisons possible. Fact 13. The country closest to the North Pole isn't Norway. You'd guess Norway or Iceland, but Kafaklubben Island in Greenland sits closest to the North Pole. The nearest permanent settlement alert in northern Canada provides actual human habitation records. If Santa needs Wi-Fi, he's probably logging in from Greenland, not Norway. Arctic proximity defies common assumptions completely. Fact 12. The Sahara is mostly rock, not sand. Everyone imagines endless sandy dunes forever, but only 30% of the Sahara is actually sandy. The rest contains harsh rock, gravel, salt flats, and plateaus, creating a landscape more Martian than Hollywood desert. Desert ecosystems vary drastically despite singular naming. Popular imagination misrepresents desert geography severely. Fact 11. The southernmost tip of Africa isn't the Cape of Good Hope. The Cape of Good Hope looks dramatic, but isn't actually Africa's southern endpoint. Cape Agulhas sits 90 miles southeast where the Atlantic and Indian Oceans actually meet, forming the true southern tip. The Cape of Good Hope is scenic, just not southernmost. Geographic drama doesn't equal geographic accuracy. Fact 10. You can almost walk from the US to Russia. At their closest point, the United States and Russia are only 2.4 miles apart, separated by Big Diomede and Little Diomede Islands. In winter, water between them can freeze over, technically making walking between countries possible. The gap narrows so closely, Cold War separation felt absurdly theatrical. Geographical proximity contradicts political distance massively. Fact 9. Pirates aren't just in Somalia anymore. Somalia once made headlines for piracy, but today Southeast Asia harbors the most active pirate region. The Strait of Malacca between Malaysia and Indonesia sees constant maritime theft. Modern pirates prefer busy trade routes over barren seas, making Caribbean fantasy completely outdated. Piracy follows commercial geography, not romantic narratives. Fact 8. Not all rivers flow south. Rivers follow gravity, not compass directions, making directional assumptions completely wrong. The Nile, Rhine, and Orinoco all flow northward, disproving the south-flowing myth. Geography teaches southbound bias when actually rivers defy directional logic. Gravity determines flow patterns, not cardinal directions. Fact 7. The pyramids of Giza aren't in the middle of nowhere. Movies show pyramids surrounded by endless empty desert, but modern Cairo's skyline appears right next door. They're practically city neighbors. Ancient wonder meets modern traffic jam photographically. Urban development happened around archaeology, not away from it. Popular cinema creates false impressions of archaeological isolation. Fact 6. Mount Everest could fit inside the Mariana Trench. The tallest mountain on Earth could disappear inside the deepest ocean part completely. Mount Everest stands 8,848 meters tall, but the Mariana Trench plunges nearly 11,000 meters down. Extreme depths dwarf extreme heights, making underwater geography more extreme. Vertical geography extends both up and incredibly down. Fact 5. An island on a lake on an island on a lake on an island. Philippines geography goes full inception, creating layered land formations. Vulcan Point Island sits inside a crater lake on Volcano Island, which sits inside Lake Tal on Luzon Island. Multiple nested geography creates the most layered pieces of land on Earth. Inception-style geography actually exists naturally in the Philippines. Fact 4. Spanish beats English in native speakers. Mandarin. Chinese tops the charts, but Spanish comes second, not English. Nearly 490 million people speak Spanish natively compared to about 400 million native English speakers. Globally, hola outnumbers hello, making Spanish the second language of Earth. English speakers vastly overestimate their linguistic dominance globally. Fact 3. The Richat structure, Earth's bullseye. Deep in the Sahara Desert lies the Richat structure, a perfect 30-mile-wide circular formation visible from space. Known as the Eye of the Sahara, this geological mystery creates concentric rings like a target painted on Earth. Scientists once thought it was a meteor crater, but it's actually ancient rock layers eroded into a perfect bullseye. Some theories even claim it matches Plato's description of lost Atlantis exactly. Fact 2. Earth's rotation is slowing down. The planet gradually takes longer to spin as Earth's rotation slows measurably. Day length increases by about 1.8 milliseconds per century, meaning changes accumulate over millions of years. Roughly 600 million years ago, days lasted only 21 hours. Planetary deceleration reshapes time itself across geological epochs. Fact 1. The moon looks upside down in the southern hemisphere. If you travel south of the equator, you'll notice the moon appears flipped compared to northern hemisphere views. The famous man in the moon, Northerners see, becomes the rabbit in the moon for southern observers. Hemisphere perspective changes celestial appearance completely. Geography literally flips how we see the heavens. Your classroom globe was incomplete. Geography is way weirder than textbooks admit. Subscribe now, drop your favorite fact in comments, and keep exploring. Because Earth reveals its true nature only to the curious.